Hello and welcome to the Arise interview, where we take time to reflect on the big stories from the news and on the fortunes and affairs of the world in an hour of conversation with commentators, analysts and thought leaders. I'm Sumner Sambu. Coming up in the next 60 minutes, an initiative on empowering the most marginalized and discriminated groups in the society has been implemented in 10 countries in Africa and Asia. They say they are reaching out to those who are hard to reach. Nigeria, the poverty capital of the world, has an increasing unemployment rate in the face of a declining economy. We'll find out how this new policy framework will strengthen the advocacy of civil society organizations in low and middle income countries in a moment. And later, outrage in Nigeria over Buhari's London medical trips as it triggers an anti-Buhari protest tagged #HarassBuhari out of London, and also a pro-Buhari protest in front of the Abuja House in the United Kingdom, where President Muhammadu Buhari is staying for his routine medical checkup. Today we interrogate the issues arising from the protests and why Nigeria's President Buhari is on medical leave amid the ballooning security and health crisis in the country. Also, we'll find out the state of Nigeria's diaspora voting coming up. According to Oxfam, at least 94 million Nigerians live below the poverty line, and Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari says his administration is bent on lifting 100 million out of poverty within 10 years. Oxfam's Voice Project initiative aims to promote inclusion and to give everyone a voice to speak up and mobilize action that will raise Nigeria out of the low inequality rankings for the country. They are giving voices to the marginalized to demand the right policies that will lift them out of extreme poverty and improve their lives. It sounds ambitious, right? Well, correspondents say an increased pace for political participation and citizen engagement is what Nigerians yearn for. Let's take a listen.
At Voice in Nigeria, we target 5 right holders. We have people living with disabilities. As you can see, a lot of them are here today. We have women facing exploitation, abuse and violence. We have ethnic minority or indigenous group. A lot of baggy people are here today. And also we target age discriminated group, particularly young people and the elderly. So it's a program that is aimed at strengthening their capacity to begin to use their voice. It's all about people using their voice to demand for one specific thing, for better governance, transparency, open governance, so that their lives can be better, so that they can have access to social services, employment, and space to participate in government.
Project coordinator for Voice, Oxfam Nigeria, Ijeoma Okwor, joins me now in the studio. Glad to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, now let's talk about this project and how it will uplift a lot of people from poverty and what the focus is, especially within Nigeria, considering that it's been implemented in countries within Africa and Asia.
Thank you. So the name is Voice, so it's about people using their voice. It's an initiative from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Netherlands. It's aimed at leaving no one behind. That's the main purpose of this program. We want to ensure that all those who have been left behind, or the voices that have not been heard before, are being heard, that those voices are strengthened, that their capacity is strengthened. And one of such groups is an age discriminated group, under which we target young people and the elderly. So that's the link with economic issues and youth unemployment you've been talking about. For Voice, we do not give those jobs. What we do is to strengthen people's capacity to demand for it.
Yeah, and you're giving grants and all of that.
Yes.
Tell me more about that.
So our grants is about building people's advocacy strength, building their capacity to campaign, creating awareness, helping them to see things in a different way, showing them how they can use whatever is their potential, like for young people to use their arts. People use their arts for different purposes, but at Voice, we try to use it for social transformation. If you saw what happened today during 5 years anniversary, you see young people using poetic words, using their dance, using their voice and talents to express how they feel about things in the country and to send message across to the relevant stakeholders on what they want young people in Nigeria. So that's basically what we do. So indirectly, we sort of create the employment, because we believe that when they speak and when the government hears it, then adequate measures will be put in place to make sure that these things are available. Apart from that, we build a community where people feel safe and where people exchange, network, and through these networks and exchanges and linking and learning, we've also found out that people gain, people are able to amplify what they're doing, people are able to get connected to jobs, to opportunities.
So in other words, you're building a community of people to discuss social issues and all of that. Now let's talk about how the poverty level in the country is also affecting inclusion. When you hear of government policies, sometimes they will be talking about inclusive financing, inclusive governance and all of that, because a lot of women and youths are left behind. What areas are you working on partnering with government agencies to see that these people who are left behind, receive some sort of support?
So Voice is a very unique kind of program. One of our projects that speaks to what you just asked is a program we did with Nigerian correctional institutions, where we had an earlier project where we found out that women within the Nigerian prisons lack some basic things that are peculiar to women. For instance, water, what women go through every month. Things like sanitary pad are not there. So one of our projects, which is one that I really love so much, is one where we are working with female prisoners and those who have left the prison. Because what we find out is that when people leave correctional institutions, the jobs are not there for those who are out. And especially when you have that tag. So now when you have that tag, you find out that you are the marginalization, the discrimination is more. But what this project is doing is identifying this issue which they have within, which is a lack of sanitary pad, and we've been able to get equipment and materials to teach them how to make it. And through that, we've been able to create jobs within and outside prison. So ex-returned citizens and inmates are now partnering to do this business, and not only are they doing it, they are providing the services for those within, and then they're providing business opportunities for those outside. So that's one of them. And then our project with Street Project Foundation, of course, they're into arts, they're into arts for social transformation. These young people, a lot of them have their talents. They've been looking for where to express it. And what this project is doing is it brought them into a boot camp, and they're able to express this talent. And we've been able to support them in amplifying voices in 10 countries, and we have links with different countries. And so what we've been able to do with our platform is to showcase these talents. We have them playing at international arenas. Many of them have been able to get engaged. They've been linked up with artists who can support them. They are doing their stuff now. Some are making money. Some are still
very interesting to note.
So, yeah.
But a lot of people also criticize the organization for being more city-centered. A lot of people, when we hear that a lot of people have been left behind, we think of the people in rural communities. So what efforts is the organization putting to push to the hinterlands and see how we can get a lot of people towards inclusive governance that doesn't leave people within the rural areas behind?
So I think that criticism might have come the first year we started. It was my first year of grant making in 2016. So we worked with the regular NGOs that we know that are in Abuja, in Lagos, in Enugu, and major cities. But after that, we started voice kind of outreaches. I've been to, farthest parts of Jos, Enugu State, and other states where we work. So right now we're working with people like Shepwan Women Farmers. We are working with Panshin Market Women. We're working with Umode community, and then in the Niger Delta, open government Open Government Partnership Initiative is working with a lot of rural area within the Niger Delta and in Kaduna State. So that was then. Now, because the whole idea of voice is reaching those voices that have not been heard. And of course, you will agree with me that though most people are not heard in Nigeria, but those in the hinterland are worst hit. So they are our main targets. Since 2017.
Yes, and then capacity building for CSOs, NGOs, and all of that is one thing that you also do. Tell us more about that.
So there are two huge components of voice. One is grant making, which is what I handle, and then we have linking and learning, which is where we connect, we network, we share learnings, and yeah, we collaborate with each other. What we do mostly at linking and learning is basically learning. We develop like a learning trajectory that we run with CSOs and watch them grow and watch them, you know, pass this knowledge across. So that's part of it. And also we also do a lot of one-on-one. Voice is a very direct program. And so most times we work with informal organizations like Shape One Women Farmers, for instance. It's not an NGO. It's just a group of women farmers who we find interesting.
Because that's the area Oxfam has been known with, actually.
Yes, and then you find out that they lack a lot of capacity in terms of finances, in terms of structural and build-up of the organization. So these are things we provide on one-on-one basis. So there are different ways we do capacity building. We provide our support to NGOs, yeah.
Okay, and
recently, by the way, we're also now looking at a network of NGOs taking up grants solely for capacity building of NGOs that are registered under them.
Okay, and then when you organize those women together as farmers, how do they get to connect to the markets, or what specific areas do you help to improve maybe the economy, especially in terms of financing?
So for Shape One Women, for instance, when we met them, their major concern was lack of land. Because, you know, Voice is an advocacy program. It's not really a service delivery. We do a little bit of it because you can't just ask people to continue speaking or go out to the street and talk when they're still hungry. So every now and then we bring a bit of service delivery. So for Shape One Women, for instance, they're into farming, a group of women who farm potatoes, sweet potatoes, Irish potatoes, and tomatoes, and all that. And what we did was to build them into a formidable force. Because single woman asking for a land is difficult. Yeah. Now, as a cooperative, as a stronger body, they are now able to acquire, I think, about 10 acres of land. Now, with proceeds, some of
okay, we'll just have to go on a short break. When we come back, we'll continue. I'll be interested in hearing all of that. Okay. You're still watching the Rise interview. Plenty more still ahead, including as we continue our chat on Oxfam's Voice Project initiative, aimed at empowering the most marginalized and discriminated groups in the society. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Arise interview. I'm Sam Sambo. As you have heard, Oxfam's Voice Project initiative targets people living with disabilities, women facing abuse, age-discriminated groups, as well as indigenous groups. The Voice initiative is championed in countries where civic space and power are shifting at a fast pace and often closing rather than opening. In other words, they operate in countries where the narrative is negative and there's underlying marginalization and vulnerability. They help people build better lives for themselves, and when disasters strike, they save and rebuild lives. Together, they take on the big issues that keep people poor, such as inequality, discrimination against women, climate change, and the eviction of people from their land. Let's take a listen.
Disability does not mean non-abilities. Everybody is able to do different things, but recognized in different manner. So our message to government is that equitable, fair opportunities should be made available to everyone, irrespective of their perceived disabilities.
And I still have with me the lead project coordinator for Voice, Oxfam Nigeria, Ijeoma Okwor. Good to have you once again. Now let's talk about the project you were talking about of these women seeking for access to land and all of that. How much help have you been able to provide to such groups?
So with Shape One, we did something different. Like I told you, we're not service delivery. But when we find out that such service would, because for employment grants that we give, we aim to build people's confidence. We want them to own their situation, to own their identity and be proud of it. And so with this women, we find out that, the culture has made it so bad that they don't feel as valued as they should. And part of what gives that power in that community is land. So what we did was to build, support them to come up as a cooperative and be strong, and with that formidable force, and train them through advocacy processes and campaign processes, how to speak, how to make demands, and they moved. And then we provided some resources to get some, I think about 10 acres of land in Shape One for rice farm, for yam farm, for different farms. And with that, they're able to go to their leaders and, present, this is what we're able to do. And with some change they made, they were also able to procure some fertilizer. You were talking about also supporting them with their farm. For Voice, we don't do that with market.
So you only provide grants for them and they go to do it by themselves?
We provide grants and support them, and then we link them. Like within Oxfam, we have projects that that can connect them to the right market, that can do so many other things. So we don't stop at that. We also link them. We also connect them to other levels of support that they will be needing.
Now let's talk about the people with disabilities and all of that. Yeah. How do you include all of this in your programming?
So Voice targets different right holders. We call them right holders in Nigeria. One of the major one is people with disabilities. Currently we are working with Albino Foundation, because we also identify them as a cluster within the disability community. We're working with the Nigerian Association for the Blind, who under their project have it's called ICT is a site for the blind. So they've established a cyber cafe that is run by people with visual impairment and managed by them, providing services for their community. We're working with
based on the grants given to them by
Voice. So yeah, so those are the service deliveries we do. They're unique ones. When we find out that it will help people come out of their hidden space
and vulnerabilities
and be confident. We are working with Qualitative Magazine, which is like it's called Connecting Our Voices. This is a magazine that when it goes to an event and the president is there and everybody is there, their focus is on people with disabilities. Okay. So you see them with their camera crew and everybody rushing. These are people, like when you go to event, nobody cares to look at them, nobody cares to listen to them. But when they are there, that's their focus. So there are so many disability groups that we're currently working with. I think right now I would say a lot of our grants actually go into the PWD community. Okay,
now let's talk about these grants that you give. In what categories are they usually given, and then how much is like the basic grant that goes to individual and then groups?
So all our grants go to group.
Not individuals?
Not individual, unfortunately. But what we do is one person can actually, like the grant given to Nigerian Association for the Blind, JOS. It was at an outreach I went for in JOS, in Plateau State, somewhere in Pangshin or so. And I met a young guy who has a visual impairment, who is looking for a job. And he basically came, seeking for money. And I had to explain to him that, that's not the kind of things we do, but you can actually organize. And he said, oh yeah, I belong to a group of people with visual impairment. We actually have a community. So it was at an informal stage. So what we do is to support them through the grant application process, and they get the money. If they
how much is an average grant?
So we have 4 types of grant. We have influencing grant, which is a maximum of 200,000 euro. We have a sudden opportunity grant, also 200,000 euro. We have influencing grant, which is like the big one, also 200,000 euro. And we have small grant, 25,000 euro, that we give to informal groups.
And one wonder, how do you monitor it to ensure that it's utilized because of abuses in the past that we've heard of?
We do have a very strong monitoring system. We always have an M&E monitoring and evaluation person that works with me. We have M&E systems within Oxfam that we have to follow. But for voice, we are also very particular about one-on-one engagement. So every now and then, I would have to visit the project states. We participate at their events as much as we could. We have a platform where we share our stories and what is happening. So in Abuja, if something is happening in Plateau State, you share it on the platform. I could actually call on one of the grantees around to also go there and represent voice. So that way we keep in touch, we know what is happening, and when we visit, if there are challenges, you let us know, and we track it on time. Yeah.
It's actually taken care of without issues of abuses. Now tell us about this program in other countries, because we've seen that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the Netherlands is also supporting countries in Asia and Africa. Tell us about the success of this voice project in other countries within the continent of Africa.
So it's been huge, it's been tremendous. We're also in Niger, we're in Mali, that's for West Africa, 3 of us. Then we're in Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda in East Africa, and then Asia, Indonesia, Philippines, Cambodia, Laos, with a coordinating office in Netherlands, in The Hague. So it's 10 countries, and it's sort of similar. It's the same right holder groups that we target. People
with the same 50 million euros grants being given by the ministry.
So it's uniform. What happens is, sometimes some countries for some reason might not be able to give out as much grant as possible. At the end of each financial year, it could be redistributed. And we also have linking and learning events happening at regional level, where we meet together, we share ideas, where we also connect organizations from Nigeria, people working with albino, for instance. We have a strong movement of albinism in Mali. At some point, you find out people connect.
Now, as we try to round off this conversation, let's talk about working in communities where it's difficult to access. A lot of CSOs and NGOs that work in hinterlands have complained about security issues here and there. Just give us an insight, just briefly, into how you operate within those kind of areas where you have those kind of challenges.
Voice, I think we've been pretty much lucky. Yeah, I think we've been very lucky so far. It was, I do my outreach. Most times I start with the radio. When I enter every state, I talk about voice, I sensitize people. And sometimes I have an interpreter with me who is speaking the local language. And so everybody's aware. Like for Plateau State, for instance, before I moved to Pangshin or Shendam, people already knew. Hundreds would come out, waiting, because you go there on the radio, you give them the good news. You tell everybody loves voice. And so when we come, they welcome us with open arms, and probably also because we try to. So
there's no fear of insecurity.
No,
and all of
in
that.
the areas we've worked
we must
so
thank
far.
you, Ijeoma Okwor.
Thank you so much.
The voice project run by Oxfam Nigeria. Thanks so much for joining us. You're still watching the Arise interview. Plenty more still ahead, including pro and anti-Buhari protesters storm Abuja House in the United Kingdom as Nigeria's President Buhari is on medical leave. Stay with us.